I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Ivanka Trump continues to throw her family members under the bus in connection with the New York Attorney General's civil fraud lawsuit against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and Donald Trump's adult children. We've been reporting about the steps Ivanka has been taking to cut these deals with the New York Attorney General Letitia James' office, to point fingers at family members and said, hey, these accusations you're making, Letitia James, sure, maybe they apply against family members, but they don't apply against me, Ivanka Trump argued. She says that she stopped working for the Trump Organization in January of 2017, and therefore that none of this should apply to her at all. I think she fundamentally misunderstands the scope and duration of this lawsuit. I will talk more about that in a little bit as well. But in the most recent filing, Ivanka Trump has effectively removed her lawyers, the same lawyers who were representing her brothers, Eric Trump and Don Jr., and she's now hired a separate law firm to represent her unique interests in a recent filing before Justice Arthur Engoron, who's presiding over the New York Attorney General's civil fraud lawsuit. A substitution of attorney took place whereby a lawyer by the name of Ben Meiselas of the firm of Troutman and Pepper removed Ivanka Trump's prior lawyers, who were also representing Don Jr. and Eric Trump. That's Clifford Robert and Michael Farina of the firm Robert and Robert. So now you have a situation where Ivanka Trump is pointing the fingers essentially at other family members, saying, I should be treated differently here. And now she's brought lawyers in because likely there was a conflict of interest that existed, where if Ivanka was pointing the fingers at other family members in these filings, and I'll go through some of these filings with you, she can't be then essentially being represented by the same people who are trying to protect her brothers and trying to protect her family members. So basically, Ivanka's just throwing her family under the bus at this point and trying to protect herself. So let me just give you the timeline of what occurred. Let me show you some of these filings so you can see it for yourself. So back in September of 2022, New York Attorney General Letitia James filed the civil fraud lawsuit against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and Donald Trump's adult children and other interested parties who work at the Trump Organization. The lawsuit seeks at least $250 million in damages based on a decade-long scheme. That's an important thing to point out. A decade-long scheme of engaging in fraudulent financial valuations whereby Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and his adult children would inflate or deflate the valuations of properties to get advantages wherever it suited them. So if they were trying to get favorable terms on a loan, they may say the property was more valuable. When they wanted to pay less taxes, they would say the property was less valuable. And so they would use that basically to try to rip off lenders, insuring authorities, and taxing authorities as well, and insurance companies. All right, so there was a special investigation that took place, like a special proceeding that took place that preceded the filing of New York Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit. September 2022, New York Attorney General Letitia James files the lawsuit. Donald Trump continues to engage in fraudulent conduct, according to Letitia James, as was the Trump Organization. So she files a motion for a preliminary injunction, an emergency motion for Justice Arthur Engoron, the presiding judge, to appoint a financial monitor. New York Attorney General Letitia James wins that motion, and a financial monitor is hired by Judge Arthur Engoron to supervise the Trump Organization and all of his adult children and Donald Trump. However, the first signs of dissension, the first sign of Ivanka Trump trying to maybe cut a deal with New York Attorney General Letitia James took place on or around December 7th of 2022, when Ivanka Trump cuts a deal with New York Attorney General Letitia James to not have the financial monitor apply to her. So the financial monitor would apply to her brothers, and the financial monitor would apply to her dad, Donald Trump, and the Trump organization and the other interested parties. So why would New York Attorney General Letitia James cut that deal? There was probably some quid pro quo thing to try to get some additional information or cooperation out of Ivanka Trump in order to secure that deal, because New York Attorney General Letitia James isn't just going to make that deal for no reason. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, while Ivanka Trump claims that she left the Trump organization in 2017 and had no role with it since 2017, the claim being brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James is a decade-long scheme when Ivanka Trump was involved. So the fact that she wasn't involved since 2017 may bring some immediacy to her involvement. By the way, do you really buy what she's saying? I don't really necessarily believe her that she's not involved in the Trump organization. I think that's BS. But nonetheless, if you accept her at her word, she still was working at the Trump organization before that. In any event, New York Attorney General still kept her in the case, just the financial monitor piece didn't apply to Ivanka. The next sign that Ivanka was throwing her brothers under the bus and even her dad under the bus was a letter brief that was submitted to the court on March 6th of 2023. And in this letter brief, Ivanka Trump basically states, and this is through her lawyers, the law firm of Kellig, Hansen, Todd, Feigl, and Frederick, and her lawyer Reed Feigl. And in this letter, Ivanka writes, "We write separately on behalf of Ivanka Trump in support of defendant's motion to vacate and modify the preliminary conference order." So this was a motion basically to ask for more discovery and to delay the trial date. Trial in this matter, in the fraud case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James, is scheduled for October 2nd, 2023. And Judge Arthur Ngoran, again, who's presiding over the case, has said, "Come hell or high water, it shall be etched in stone. I am not moving that date." But Ivanka tried to argue, well, I should be treated differently than my family members. And this is what Ivanka said, because I have a unique situation. And Ivanka said, this is what the letter said. "First, with respect to Miss Trump, Ivanka Trump, the court's characterization of this case is demonstrably incorrect. The legal theory underlying the Office of Attorney General statute violations against Ivanka Trump, as alleged in the complaint and as articulated by the Office of the Attorney General in its opposition to the motion to dismiss, is not simple, nor does it rest on the theory that Miss Trump falsified her father's personal financial statements or submitted them to third parties. The complaint does not contain a single allegation that Ms. Trump directly or indirectly created, prepared, reviewed, or certified any of her father's financial statements. The complaint affirmatively alleges that other individuals were responsible for those tasks. Similarly, as Ms. Trump argued in her motion to dismiss, and which the OAG did not contest, there is no allegation that Ms. Trump ever made a misrepresentation about any of her father's statements of financial condition." So basically what it's saying there is, yeah, my father may have made the false statements, my brothers may have done it, but I wasn't the one who specifically did it. Then going to the last page of the 7-page letter that was submitted to the court on March 6, 2023, this is what it states. It says, "Ms. Trump's factual and legal defenses are unique, both because the legal theory and factual allegations made against her are different, and because she left the company in January of 2017. So she's saying, treat me differently than you're going to treat my brothers. You go after them, but I want an extension of time for a very different reason. So that's the timeline that takes place. So the lawsuit is filed. Just go over the timeline. The lawsuit's filed in September of 2022. Then on October 26th of 2022, a notice of entry of appearance of lawyers is made. And it's the same lawyers who are representing Don Jr. and Eric Trump. It says, please take notice that the undersigned, Michael Farina, and so Michael Farina and Clifford Robert of Robert and Robert represent Don Jr. and Eric Trump. But this notice says, the undersigned hereby appears in the above entitled action as attorneys for defendants Ivanka Trump, along with Reed Feigl, pro hoc vice to be submitted, and Michael K. Kellogg, pro hoc vice to be submitted, of Kellogg, Hansen, Todd, Feigl, and Frederick. Just so you know what pro hoc vice means, it's a Latin term, but it basically allows out-of-state lawyers to petition to practice on a case-by-case basis in a different state. So these are Washington, D.C. lawyers who are working with New York lawyers to practice, in this case, in the Supreme Court of the state of New York, which is the trial court in New York. So that was her legal team at the time, right? Michael Farina, Reed Feigl, and Michael Kellogg. Feigl and Kellogg, D.C. lawyers, Farina representing her brothers. And then what we just saw was filed on 4/18/2023. Said, please take notice that pursuant to whatever the local rule is, Reed Feigl and Michael Kellogg of the law firm Kellogg, Hansen, Todd, Feigl hereby withdraw their appearance. So on April 18th, 2023, those lawyers who you saw wrote that March 2023 letter, they withdrew. So her DC counsel are thereby gone. And then on April 21st, 2023, we get this filing by a new law firm, the firm of Troutman, Pepper, Hamilton, Sanders. The lawyers named Bennett Moskowitz. A notice is filed. Please take notice that the undersigned hereby appears as counsel for defendant Ivanka Trump in the above captioned matter. All notices given and all papers filed in this action shall be served upon the undersigned. As of this filing, Robert and Robert PLLC is no longer local counsel of record for Miss Trump. So the same lawyers who were representing Eric and Don Jr., Robert and Robert, are gone, and now Ivanka has her own independent counsel. So if you put all of this together, you've got Ivanka separating herself from her family members in the filing on, or the deal cut with the Attorney General of New York on December 7th, 2022. She then files a motion saying that she should be treated differently than her family members on March 6th of 2023, and says her situation is unique. She didn't prepare it. Her family members did, and there's a distinction there. And then finally, this past week, we have a situation where she gets rid of the lawyers that are representing her brothers. They're no longer representing her. They still represent her brothers. And she brought on an independent firm. So she's posturing here, obviously, for a deal. She's posturing to be treated differently. And you see a different legal strategy that she's pursuing than her family members. Now, I think when it comes to Ivanka and all of these Donald Trump children, you got to look at it very skeptically, because this could all be still part of a plan that they are working on together to try to derail the October 2023 trial date. But Judge Arthur Engoron's not changing that date. And perhaps New York Attorney General Letitia James may be speaking with Ivanka's new lawyer about cutting a deal to testify about her brothers. But New York Attorney General Letitia James is not going to be fooled by any chicanery or tricks by Ivanka Trump's new counsel. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Help us get there. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Become a member of our Patreon site, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And wherever you get your audio podcasts, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast, and also follow us on Instagram as well at MeidasTouch on Instagram. All right, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's free. Have a great day. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.